Emilie, look what I got in my hands. And I've only had time to read the first couple of chapters because I've been traveling back from Melbourne, which is a 15-hour drive, and just catching up. And we're on our lovely farm, as you can see in the background. So let's dive straight in. Who or what inspired you to write the book, The Reset?
First of all, thank you, Beverly. Thank you for buying the book, getting the book, and reading the book. Well, starting reading the book. I'm overexcited, of course, of finalizing that project, which started last year when the nine white sisters appeared to me when they made their presence in spring equinox 2025. So it was those galactic beings, those nine galactic emanations that urged me to write the book, So the teachings which are in the book are channeled transmission.
Wow. And why do why do you feel, or why do the Nine Galactic Sisters feel that this message that's in the book is important right now?
There are several messages which are of importance, I would say time sensitive importance, because it's really a book towards the sovereign, taking in hand your own healing. In a way, stop that healing, the traditional healing process, and really realizing that you are already the wholeness you are. It's about neutralizing those last residues of your trauma, which have been lingering and entangling themselves in your system, so that they were practically invisible. They are very often on that subconscious level where we don't even realize we do have residues. And we have done throughout long time, all the light workers, all the star seeds know what I'm talking about. We've done so much healing on ourselves. We've been on that journey of sometimes very painful rediscovery of ourselves, who we really are in our power, in our personal self, who we really are here to be. And with the reset, it is a guidance, a technology, even though, technology is not the right word, techniques, you would say, towards that disentanglement, towards neutralization of the judgment of the duality we live in, the duality that at core creates the trauma. And of course, as we know, we have all, loads of ancestral and karmic trauma being given as a gift from the past. And that gift we are supposed to unravel now. You can say unravel, unpack now, and recognize the gift and neutralize it.
Wow.
I don't know if I answered your
So
question, but this is what comes through.
you mentioned about ancestral trauma. So for some of the listeners who are new to this work, do you want to explain what that is?
Ancestral trauma is that the memory charge that we inherit through, well, DNA. I don't go into details how does that work, but it's basically the trauma our ancestors have been through, the pain they have experienced without being able to understand it and release it. It's it goes through generations, so it's passed to the next generation, next one, and so on. So that trauma is in a way meant to protect us from not repeating the same pattern. The problem is that actually the trauma leads to that repetition of the pattern. And why to finally release it when our consciousness raised to that level where we understand what we are here to learn and to stop repeating and giving forward to the next generations.
So, what's one example of how people could release this?
So the whole point of the reset, or the whole teaching, is based on the neutralization of the judgment. So as we know, whatever we judge, we hold that energy in our field. If we are really protesting strongly against something that happened to us, we keep it in our field. We keep it in that memory. We perpetuate it, and we make it stronger and stronger so that it really solidifies in our system and then can show as possible illness or possible disease in our body. So neutralizing that judgment. So if we can see the trigger, when we see a trigger, when we see this is happening again and again and again, and I really don't like it, and it stresses me, or makes me angry or sad, then it's really time to look at that and see what is the core judgment here, what is the core pain, and how can I release it. So the reset is guiding you to see deeper what is behind my residue, what is behind that trauma. Now, because it's a living transmission, the reset, while reading the book, of course, you are also activating the codes within you. So, there is the work of the reset is one is the conscious, where you understand the gifts, you understand what was going on, what is going on. But then there is the work on subconscious level, which is through the written words. And then you have the energetic level, when you connect with the 9 white sisters of Atlantis, the 9 galactic emanations, you receive with your intention, and you're allowing, you receive the healing as well.
Yeah, and that I feel is very powerful, because in the Western world, especially, it's our innate inheritance, if you like, to judge people and judge ourselves. So we tend to judge ourselves worse than our worst enemy, for the want of better words, would judge us. And we're either judging ourselves or comparing ourselves to others, or we're judging others. As soon as someone walks towards you, you're thinking, like the way they're dressed, or don't like the way they're dressed. There's always that yin and yang, and we've made up a whole story before they've even opened their mouths. So it's like that saying, don't judge a book by the cover. But this has been our way of life. We've been programmed like it. So it's great that you mentioned that we can reset. And because, when we're judging someone, we're not coming from a heart space. And the same when we judge ourselves, we've beaten ourselves up. And that causes conflict, and that draws us away from peace and love. And you mentioned in the books that we can get the teachings of the 9 white sisters. And last night, before I went to sleep, I got to the chapter where it says heart power. And you actually, it's almost like having a meditation. And I went through that before I went to sleep, and it was very, very powerful. I'm going to record it, and so it'd be easier for me to just listen and tune in. I had amazing visions, and I had a few aha moments. So this is why I'm keen to read the rest of the book. So, um, when is the book going to be chapter by chapter of the nine portals, or are you going to do that in another book?
Yes, so the in the book there are each portal or each galactic emanation or each which is channeled by the nine white sisters of Atlantis. They're described. So every sister have her uh, chapter, you would say, a description of how she appears as that pure galactic emanation in all its purity, the aspect of that galactic um, resonance and ray. And then there is also the integration of the duality, which we dualize here on Earth as humans. We make it as, the good and the bad. We give it that judgment. This is good, this is bad, while actually it just is. So there is each emanation, each sister has its description. So you can connect to that, you can sense it, you can feel it, and I was when they appeared to me, they appeared as nine white sisters of Atlantis. I had always very strong connection with Atlantis, of course, and they, told me, well, you are one of us. You are,
Wow.
yes, you were. So for me, writing the book was really a very interesting exercise because I was switching from being one of the sisters and then me, Emilia, writing the book. And I'm still doing, I've always been doing that actually. I just didn't know that was my group. I knew I had very high frequency guides since little, but I didn't know really who it was. So, the time was right in spring equinox 25. So, but I asked them, so if you are nine galactic emanations, and I work with quantum therapy, so I was always more into metaphysics, and why are you appearing as nine one sisters of Atlantis? I love that. Of course, I connect to that lifetime or to that realm. I love, describing it as well and living it. But why didn't you come as the emanations? And they say, well, it's because we like to interact with you and your fellow humans in this form. It's much more relatable because we were
Wow.
walking the earth as well. We were more, they were a lot in that shimmering state still, especially in Lemuria, then Atlantis much more in matter, but yet still not fully. But they were partially humans, of course, as we are.
Wow. How does it feel like to be the chosen one to carry out these teachings? And you mentioned that you're flipping between one reality to a next reality. It's like having parallel lives, but often that parallel life is instant for you.
Mhm. So how does it feel? It felt really, really painful the whole my of my life. In the sense of I had so many, of course, like I know many people can relate, lessons, painful, things to go through, to alchemize, to transmute, of course, because I had to learn, I had to experience on my own in my own beingness how it feels to suffer as well, and transform it, transmute it, neutralize. So I've been through that work myself. So how does it feel is why why did I choose so? Why did I do that? I would much rather stay with them in other realms and, other dimensions. But then I of course volunteered, and I was in a way chosen, or we've chosen that together because I was the galactic, I was the alchemist. And in this lifetime where we are at, humanity, we all need to become those alchemists, alchemizing that pain and fear and trauma and limitations into the gifts, into the creating new world, creating new way of being. And that's an alchemization process because it takes both change of your perception and raising in consciousness, but also that chemical alchemization of how your body needs to restructure itself. So yeah, so I was the expert on, in that sense,
How,
alchemizing the process of trauma. So it was kind of, yeah,
and
not even a
this
choice, I would say.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned this book is for everyone, especially people who are ready to
Yeah.
evolve spiritually. Um, will besides reading the book, will you be teaching these codes and training, or what have you been told that you're going to do next with these codes?
Yes, so I'm already of course offering one-to-one sessions and do a retreat, plan a retreat. One is here in Montabone in June for summer solstice in Italy, and one very special one in September at with my dear colleague Beverley. And in September in south of France, we are planning, there, of course, the Nine White Sisters will come forth. Not with a full reset, of course, that's not enough time, but they will have a say.
That's amazing because when we were first chatting, and I said to you, I've been called to do a retreat in France, and at the moment I'm living back in Australia. And I said, when we were chatting, I got a nudge to invite you to co facilitate. And when we were discussing how many numbers, you automatically said, yes, it's going to be nine. So we'll have seven guests and, the nine white sisters. And I was like, oh, I've. I'm not sure if I know who the nine white sisters are. Um, However, both of us have been working with divine femininity for a long time. So maybe you could tell the listeners, firstly, what your definition of divine feminine and why it is important to connect with it, and explain to us about the nine white sisters.
So the divine feminine is, that there isn't no coincidence, of course, as there is none ever, that that there are nine white sisters. The feminine aspect is very important. It has been always celebrated as the gestating, the bringing forth, receiving the grace, the divinity of this, well, and emanating. And that part we need to hear, today, humanity, men and women, we need to integrate that, especially the divine feminine within each of us, because it has been suppressed for too long time, for not only hundreds of years, but centuries. suppressed in us because it's incredibly powerful. Just stating new life, that creativity, that beingness, that receptive power of the divine energetics, that has been made quiet and non-existent by so many, especially religions. So that needs to be integrated, and that needs to be really put also in the right relationship with the divine masculine, because that one is of course also incredibly important to have well balanced within each of us, so that we can have that sacred dance of feminine and masculine together, that creating then the fully integrated beingness within us.
Yes, that makes sense. And I just think with the craziness of the world at the moment, with the wars and, you know, recently Donald Trump, for example, nearly got murdered at his event, and the list goes on. There's a lot of upset and confusion. And I think it's, people need to find their happy place. They need to find the balance and the harmony and feel safe inside their bodies. So, you also mentioned that the book, The Nine Sisters, came to you in the spring equinox of 2025. And within the spiritual realm, a lot of people were saying that was the end of one cycle of being and it was the beginning of a new cycle. So, what can people expect for this change?
So what I feel and what the sisters transmit is it's the sovereignty. It's the end of victimization. That's very, it's also, written there is one chapter for it, I think, that self-responsibility, that the reset, for example, you cannot really go through without losing that victimhood, without really taking responsibility for everything you are, everything you do. Why? Because then you can transmute it, then you can really work with that, then you can change it. Whenever we blame others or even ourselves, part of ourselves, when we blame, when we judge those parts, we cannot release them. We cannot work with them because we hold on to that negativity, onto that, oh, I don't like this. But by not liking it, you hold it, you keep it. So that's the most powerful message I feel, is that losing that victim attitude at all levels. And there are many, and sometimes, the victimhood is very clear. Oh, poor me, but sometimes it's very, very subtle. And you don't even recognize that you're victimizing yourself. So that one is very important. And it's also the stopping looking for what's wrong with you, that healing path, more making healing path into, I'm already whole. I'm already complete. I just don't remember that feeling of being complete. So I'm recreating that feeling of that I'm sovereign and complete, and I don't let anybody bossing me around or anything, or, putting me in a little prison of whatever, be golden prison. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I started my career as a registered general and psych nurse. And, victimhood comes in many forms. And I know energetically, besides being a victim, you it's the same energy as a rescuer. So people tend to want to rescue people. Just turning my phone off. And it's like a battle then, because you're trying to save people and rescue, and you're not doing that other person the favor because they're not standing in their power, and they they need to be on their own journey as well. And I like the way you said about responsibility, because there's so many people today that pointing the fingers and blaming, because it's easy to blame people than to look within and acknowledge, your shadow side, your disempowering beliefs, your inner child, and do the work on yourself. So I'm so happy that your work is going to help people rise and shine. And yeah, my new programs I'm working on is called Arise, but it will, complement the work we're doing. And I know our event in Saint-Baume because we were both called there because, one, I've seen an apparition of Mary Magdalene on each visit, my 3 visits, and had an amazing experience. And you were living in the area for 4 years and
14,
blessed.
14.
Oh, 14. Wow, I didn't realize that. All this time I knew you, I didn't realize you were there for 14
No,
years.
well, 14 years in south of France, and yes, and
Yeah,
even closer to Marie Madeleine, yeah, 2 years, yeah.
yeah.
But
So, yeah, so when we're talking about sacredness and, wholeness, you mentioned a few times, you can feel whole just being in nature wherever you are, connecting to the ground and the soil, because we are the same energy as the soil. And if we look after the soil, we're looking after ourselves. And conversely, if we don't look after ourselves, we're going to be sick. And there's a lot of sick people in the world at the moment. And, we chose these sacred mountains. There's been so many monks and nuns and people of all religious denominations and people who are complete atheists also that have been there. And it's just like we're walking in the footsteps of our ancestors. And it's the home where Saint Mary Magdalene lived for allegedly 30 years. And just that beautiful energy of the people going there and wanting or expecting to be healed. And as you said, we are all healed and we've just forgotten. So, our sacred feminine retreat, it will be about taking people on a journey of remembrance. And I'm more than happy for you to share some of the Nine Sisters work during that event. And as you said, it's too short and to do it in much with it, but at least people can have a taste of it. And I feel it's time that people come into their own power. So this is giving them the opportunity to come into their own power. And maybe we could, because we're doing a series of divine feminine talks, maybe we could dedicate a chat on each of the 9 chapters, if you like, or part of the chat, could be chapter 1, and then we'll go on to something else. But see how it resonates with you. And before we sign off, do the 9 sisters have anything that they would like to share with the listeners?
the divine feminine, the alignment of the divine feminine, which we are going to to encourage and activate at some bomb in the place of the Divine Sister Mary Madeleine and lineages of druids and other groups who were practicing elevation of consciousness. It's a wished for and supported events like that, where people come together, men and women, when they come together and they inspire each other to that alignment, because we are the nine white sisters, and we each have specific characteristics, specific aspects, the nine galactic emanations, which are present in each of you, each of us humans. We all have those nine aspects within. And the time is now to also recognize all those nine aspects and elevating them to its purest form through that neutralization of that duality, or the judgment of that duality, because duality by itself is beautiful. Duality by itself is what we are here to play with. So it's that negative charge that needs to give space to, so that we can fully play with what we got here and enjoy and lightness and excitement.
Yeah, I think that's what's missing in a lot of people's lives. It is joy and excitement and play. A lot of people are stuck with the busyness, with the work, corporate lives, or whatever job they're in, and buying the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And, you get trapped with the debts and so forth. And for me, it's about slowing down this new energy and just simply being happy within yourself and who you are. You've got no one to please, no one to seek approval from apart from yourself. You just simply have to be and enjoy nature. And yeah, I think if people just took a reset in nature, they they would change their lives completely. Just, even just by bringing nature into your home with homegrown foods or herbs on your windowsills. And, if you go to the farmer's market and taste the delicious food, it's like, mmm. And then you grow your own basil or mint or tomatoes, and it's just divine, and it's connecting with this divineness.
Yeah.
So, dear sister, um, before we wind up, is there anything you as Emilie would like to share?
No, I'm complete. Just let's have fun. Let's go and have fun today.
Yeah, and that's my message to everyone. Take time out, go and walk in nature, ideally barefoot, and don't care what you look like, don't care what people think of you, just jump in the puddles, splash in the streams, and just have fun. So, thank you.
Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you. And thank you to all the listeners.